to mental health, or excuse me, welcome to Introduction to Mental Health Recovery. My name is Rusty Ford. I'm the author of a book called Mental Health Recovery, The Power to Thrive. I'm not going to cover a lot of what's in the book, but the purpose of this is to give you an introduction so you know how it works and how you, as a person who struggles with mental health issues, can empower yourself and take control of your own mental health recovery and move from a place of suffering to a place of living a full and happy life, to a life where you actually thrive instead of exist. One of the things I like about the concept of mental health recovery is so much of treating mental health as learning to cope. And for me, learning to cope was just about existing. And I wanted so much more than existing. I wanted so much more than just being able to make it to the end of every day. And a real brief thing, I've suffered about my own path to mental health recovery. I've suffered mental health issues, primarily depression and anxiety, for 19 years. It started right after my second battle with cancer. I'd had about 4 major surgeries up to that point, chemotherapy. And like a lot of people, their depression and anxiety diagnosis comes after they've had a significant mental or physical trauma to their body. Now, that doesn't describe everybody. Some people are born with depression and anxiety issues, but it doesn't matter whether you're born with it or you develop it later in life. You can learn to overcome. You can learn to thrive. You can learn to live a full and happy life. And, 13 years into it, about 6 years ago, I developed, a significant headache issue. I had a migraine headache 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 years. I could hardly walk around the house. The pain would be so bad that once or twice a week, it was so severe that I was puking my guts out. It was a horrible experience, or I felt like it. I mean, only a few times did I actually get that, but I was so nauseated, so much physical pain associated with the depression as well as the headache pain. Well, you can imagine that kind of reduced my life to nothing. The pain was so severe, the disorientation so bad I couldn't drive. Well, 2.5 years into it, I said, I'm not living. I'm barely existing. I want more. So I started reading everything I could, and the headaches kept me from spending much time on the computer. But one thing I saw that everybody said was, you need to be more active. So I started having my wife drop me off at the gym on her way to work, and I'd have an access bus bring me back home. And just getting out of the house, just doing something physical, and it was very minor at first, but it was still, something that I was doing physically. I started improving some. Well, about 6 months into it, I found out that my antidepressant was damaging my eyes. Now, it's a very rare side effect to some antidepressant medications. So don't go running and jumping off your medication because you think it's going to hurt your eyes. It's like 1/10% out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000 that this will happen to, and it's glaucoma. If you're taking antidepressant, I just say, once a year, have your eyes checked, to make sure everything's okay. But anyway, what I learned from that after I came off of it, which was probably the most difficult thing I ever did in my life, coming off that antidepressant, was that it was also the major culprit in my headaches. After it took, slightly over 2 months to completely come off the medication. And when I did, the headaches returned back to a, typical migraine type headache, which, 2 to 4 times a month, I would have a migraine level headache. And so I began to, I improved. I was able to drive. And first thing I did after I started driving was you start attending a mental health support group. And that, man, that was a radical change in my life. And then uh, I went there. I started a newer one closer to home, uh, and that was really geared more to learning to thrive than learning how to live with your mental health condition. I spent about 4 months into it. My life was improving so much that I did the training and started leading a support group myself. Well, I improved so much over that first 3 year period that you know uh, I was able to easily handle the most difficult uh, year of my life. It wasn't that difficult to experience because of the skills that had been built in me and the inner strength that had been built in me. But you know, um, in December, my wife was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and so we were going through this battle, and she's going through chemo, and I'm having to take care of her for a change. You know, and then uh, that next April, my youngest sister ended her life with suicide. In 1st of June, my dad died as a result of a massive heart attack. In August, I had open heart surgery, and then in September, my other sister, the one that's a year behind me, went in for open heart surgery, had a massive heart attack, and died 6 hours before her surgery. You know, you know, obviously I grieved during this time, but it wasn't an overwhelming grief. It didn't control my life. I still lived a full and happy life in spite of going through all of this in a year. And whether everybody's mental health is different, and it depends. And conditions are different. Not everybody suffers depression and or anxiety. Uh, you know, you know, suffer with it the same way. Some people find it easier to overcome than others. Then you've got more serious conditions like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorders. You know, you know, some of those can be even harder to overcome, but yet I know people who've overcome them all and are living a full and happy life. So, what is mental health recovery? William Anthony uh, is a mental health professional who worked with a team of people put on in a study put on by the National Institutes of Health. The purpose of this collaboration group was to come up with a definition of what mental health recovery is, and it's a little technical, but it's something that you can understand. And if you want to be able to read it again, this presentation, I'll have a link to where you can download this presentation for free. This PowerPoint presentation. You know, um, I, you know, so if you lead a mental health support group, you may want to go through this a couple of times and make this presentation at your support group. Or if you just want the information for your own personal use, you can, in the description of the video, you can download this link. But this team of people came up with this definition. Recovery is a deeply personal, unique process of changing one's attitudes, values, feelings, goals, skills, or roles. It is a way of living a satisfying and hopeful and contributing life, even with the limitations caused by the illness. Recovery involves the development of new meaning and purpose in one's life as one grows beyond the catastrophic effects of mental health. And yes, they can be catastrophic, and yes, you can grow beyond that. And when he says deeply personal, what people in the field say about this is that every person's path to recovery is unique. What works for one person may not work for another. How you go about it, or the order you go about the things that you do, are deeply yours. you alone have the power to control your mental health recovery, and you are the one who decides the process that you make. One thing that people talk about a lot, almost anytime you go to any website that talks about overcoming depression and anxiety, they talk about journaling. Well, journaling is not for everybody. I'm not a journaler. I tried multiple times during this process to keep a journal, and it's just not me. But you'll figure out once you make that commitment that I am going to live a full and happy life, I don't care what it takes, you will find what works for you. Now, this is my definition that I have in the book. I try to keep it simple and sweet, something that you can easily remember. Mental health recovery is the process of changing the way we act and think to achieve living a full and happy life. It is taking control of our mental health and actively fighting to overcome and thrive in spite of our diagnosis. You know, and this recovery process is exactly that, the process of changing the way we act and changing the way we think. Depression, anxiety, bipolar symptoms, schizophrenia, you name the mental health condition, and the way it affects our brains changes or affects the way we think and affects the way we act. By reversing these and changing the way we act and think, we can actually change the way our brains work. And I would give a little explanation here, but I'm trying to keep this not too long. But it's taking control. I want to point that part out. It's taking control. Too many people, myself included, for the first almost 13 years of my life, I let my medical professionals tell me how to live, how to overcome, and they did very little of that. They prescribed drugs, they suggested I do certain types of counseling, but it wasn't until I decided that I was going to do whatever it takes to overcome that I began to see improvement in my life. And so if you want the most simple definition you can get, mental health recovery is the process of taking control over your mental health and making sure that you do everything you can to change your life for the better. Mental health recovery is about empowering yourself. You have the power to do it. There's a lot that I could say about that. And in my book, I explain how to empower yourself. But mental health recovery begins with hope. Hope is the center of recovery. All recovery, no matter what type, whether it's mental health, drugs and alcohol, sex addictions, you name the type of mental health type of recovery, it's all based on hope. Now, in our society, we really don't understand what hope is. The word hope means to have a reasonable expectation that under certain circumstances, something is going to happen. A friend of mine's father promised him a car on his 18th birthday. And he had hope that on his 18th birthday, he would get a car. A few days before his 18th birthday, his dad walked up and said, "Hey, let's go car shopping." And they went shopping, they found a car, and he got a car. He had a reasonable expectation because his father said this would happen, that it would happen. Most of the time we use hope, we use it in the context of wishful thinking. I hope I win the lottery. I hope I don't have an accident on the way to work. I hope but you're not really using the term hope. Hope is an expectation. And in the context of mental health recovery, hope is the expectation that if I do the things I need to do, I will get better. And to fully expect it. And so that is the core. But one of the best definitions I have of applying hope to your life comes from Pat Deegan. Pat Deegan is one of the early founders of the mental health recovery movement. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia as a young girl. And in her teens, her psychiatrist told her that she just might as well give up on life. Her life was going to consist on taking drugs and staying at home and doing everything she could to not have any stress in her life. And she didn't accept that. She, like me, decided she was going to do whatever it took to overcome her mental health condition. And this is what she writes about hope. Why is hope important to recovery? Because the hope is the root of life's energy. In order to recover, I had to turn away from the wish that psychiatrists could fix me. I had to turn away from the myth that psychiatric treatments could cure me. Instead, I had to mobilize all the energy I had and become an active partner in my recovery. I had to learn to work collaboratively with my treatment team and draw strength from the wisdom of my peers. I had to begin to striving for my goals, not when I was all better, but from day one. I had to believe that there was a life for me beyond the confines of the mental health system. That is hope. Hope is the tenacious pursuit of pathways to a better life despite the odds. Without hope, there is no recovery. And in her day, I mean, she is older than I am, and back in the '60s, when you had schizophrenia, you lived with your guardians taking care of you, or you lived in a mental health institution. That's and she says that I wasn't going to be confined to that. I was going to find a way to live my life to the full. And I like this definition so much that I want to break down each section and talk briefly about it. Why is hope important to recovery? Because it is the root of life's energy. I don't care if you've got a mental health condition or not. If you want to live a full and happy life, you're going to have hope. Hope can carry you through almost anything, and all of us are going to have difficult times and trials, because hope is the root of life's energy. When you have hope, when you expect that good things are going to happen in your life is so much more full. I don't care how rich, wealthy, no matter what you have, if you expect that your life is going to be good, it's going to be great. But there's a problem with the way we perceive society. One of the highest suicide groups in America are the extremely wealthy. Presidents of corporations, top businessmen and women. Because if you don't have that hope, no matter how wonderful your circumstances is, your life is not going to be full and happy. In order to recover, she says, I had to turn away from the wish that my psychiatrist could fix me. I had to turn away from the myth that psychiatric treatments could cure me. I like this point because I find so many people I work with, that's their expectation, that somehow going to their psychiatrist or somehow going to their counselor is going to cure them. Well, working with your psychiatrist and working with your psychologist can be a very important part of your mental health recovery. But these two things alone can't cure you. In fact, they can't do anything for you unless you take active part in it. Instead, I had to mobilize all the energy I have. I had to become an active partner in my recovery. Now, I'm not going to make it seem like this is an easy process. The subtitle of my book is 3 simple steps to jumpstarting your mental health recovery. The steps may be simple, but putting them into practice is going to take all the energy you have, 100% of it sometimes. But if you do, you will find that within a month you've got more energy, and then that next month you've got more energy, and you can keep growing and growing and growing. I had to learn to work collaboratively with my treatment team. Mental health recovery is not a process that you do alone. You do it with a team. That a couple slides down, I will describe how to build a team. And I had to draw strength from the wisdom of my peers. That's where a support group comes in, or a um, peer specialist that works with your counselor. Somebody who's been where you've been, who's been through mental health issues, worked through it, and they can help work with you to set goals. But you have to have a full and complete team, and you need peers. It's something powerful. I mean, the first support group I went to really was quite pathetic. But what was so powerful about it is that uh, I was with people who were struggling like I was, who understood when I said something what I was talking about. And just the fact that we were together with a common goal of moving forward started making drastic changes in my life. I had to learn to work collaboratively with my treatment team and well, I meant to delete that slide. I'm sorry, it's repeated. Had to begin striving for my goals, not when I was all better, but from day one. And that's a very important point. Depression and anxiety and mental health issues can be so draining that it's easy to try and wait until you feel better to get started. But you may never feel better. You may never have the energy. So you have to start from day one. If you decide today, listening to this, that I'm going to do whatever it takes to make myself better, it means you start today. And today and every day, you do the things you have to do to get better. And quickly, most people will find that their lives start improving right away. I had to believe that there was a life for me beyond the confines of the mental health system. That is hope. And this is the part I like. If you want to shrink this down to a simple definition, hope is the tenacious pursuit of pathways to a better life, despite the odds. Let me say that again. Hope is the tenacious pursuit of pathways to a better life, despite the odds. That means that you are going to be a fighter. You're going to decide to do this, and you're going to fight day and night to live a better life. And you can do it. I did it. People in my support group do it. We've had dozens of people in my support group that within 6 months had improved so much that they didn't really need to come to the support group anymore. Some of them continued. Some of them would stop in, every couple of months just to say hi. I've watched this over and over and over again as people make this commitment and see the positive change that it can bring. Now, building your team. I put this in a triangle. At the top of your team is you or me. The person with the mental health. We're the ones making the ultimate decisions. Below us, supporting us directly, is our professional team. This professional team could be your psychiatrist and your psychologist. It could be a support group. It could be a pastor or other religious leader. It could be a mentor. It could be a personal trainer. But professional people who are working to help you obtain your goals. Your psychologist and or your peer supporter working with your psychologist may help you come up with the goals, but they can't make you attain the goals. It takes you. That's why you have to be at the top. You learn from them, you find out what you need to do, and then you do it. Because they can't do it for you. They cannot make you better. They can help you in many ways, but only you can make yourself better. And then there's your personal support team, families, friends, social groups, professional groups, mentors, people around you who will commit to helping you walk through this process. And we all know family members and friends. The social groups. There are all kinds of social groups out there. From civic groups like Lions Club, Kiwanis. I always joke and say I'm going to go join one of those civic clubs, the Lions and the Bears and the Tigers. Oh my! But those social groups are out there where you can get involved with other people. In your profession, there's probably groups that can help you obtain your goals in your profession. There's personal mentors that can help you as you grow. You know, one thing that I would say at this point is be very careful who you bring onto your team. Now, your team can be a formal thing. You can specifically ask family members and friends to help you, but you need to be because there are toxic people in your life, and we talk about this in support group all the time. In this early process of recovery, there are probably people that you might even care about deeply that you have to distance yourself from because they're not a positive influence. They're not helping you at all. So as you pick people, from these two groups to help you, or either formally or informally by just hanging around with them because they're a positive influence, then you know, be selective, be careful. Social groups. I'd like to mention one type of social group. There's a website, if you're not familiar with it, called meetup.com. Now, it can be really hard, especially with anxiety issues, to go to a group where you don't know anybody. Well, meetup.com is a huge website all over the world, and people set up meetup groups inside of every city and most communities. There's some real rural areas that don't have them, but they have every kind of group that you can imagine. You're really into baseball? They have baseball groups. You're really into knitting? They have knitting groups. They have mental health groups. Whatever your interest is, you can join that group, and they put up events that are going to happen. And so I find it myself much easier to go to a group. Now I don't have any problems, but when I first started going through recovery, I found it easier. I started going. I love fishing, so I started going to a fishing group. Well, everybody had one interest in mind. I know that when we got together, when we talked, we were going to talk about a subject that I was interested in, and I felt this a much easier group to go to than to go join the lions, the tigers, and the bears on mine. Now, I'd been in the Kiwanis and I'd been in the lions, in my professional life. But after I developed, depression and anxiety, starting to go to a new group that I didn't know was a struggle. So, that's how you build your support team. Now, in my book, I talk about 3 simple steps to recovery. And these are the 3 steps. I choose to believe that I can live a full and happy life. Basically, that's hope. It all begins with hope. I choose to believe that I can do it. Until you believe you can do it, it's going to be hard to do. So your first thing is to choose to believe that. After I developed, I always thought I was great. I always thought I was wonderful. I thought the world wrapped around me until I got sick. And I had my first battle of cancer and all these surgeries in the second. And when I developed depression and anxiety, I believe the exact opposite of that. Nobody, my mom used to sing a song when I was growing up. When I would pout about something, she would say, "Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. Guess I have to eat a worm, a big fat juicy one, little bitty skinny one. Guess I have to eat a worm." Well, that's how I felt about my life, that my life was worthless. I had nothing to contribute. So one of the first things I started to try and develop hope is I'd get up in the morning, I'd go to the bathroom, I'd stop in front of the mirror, and I'd look in the mirror and say, "Damn, Rusty, you're a good looking guy. And somehow, some way today is going to be a good day." Sometimes I would ask, "You're a good looking guy and you have a lot to offer the world. The world is blessed because you're in it." Now, sometimes you have to say things you don't quite believe yet. Well, my basic philosophy of life is everybody has value. I don't care who you are, you have value. Just the fact that you're a human being, you have value. So you can say this, honestly. And as you develop an expectation that your life is going to improve, you'll find it easier and easier to believe this about yourself. Today and every day, I choose, in spite of how I feel, to get up and do the things that I will do that I know will help me get better. Today and every day, I will challenge every negative thought. We've talked about step one. In fact, I just did it again. It's about hope. Step two, today and every day, I choose, in spite of how I feel, to get up and do the things that will help me get better. Well, I explain how that works in the book. I also give you dozens of different things that people uh, that you have done that you can do that will help you uh, get better. Things like creating a mantra, uh, journaling, developing gratitude. I mean, there's probably at least a couple of dozen significant things you can do that can turn your life and head you away. So every day I'm going to get up and do some of these things that I need to do to make me get better. And you may start with only one and then work to a second one and maybe add a third one that you're doing. And then at some point you may have got all the benefits you could out of one of those three and you add another one. But the key is that today and every single day, I make this choice. I don't care how I feel. I don't care how miserable I am. I don't matter how depressed I feel, how anxious I feel. I don't care if there's 10,000 voices in my head screaming at me at the same time. I will choose to get up and do the things that will help me get better. And that's the key, that you make, the thing about hope is you have a reasonable expectation. If you do the things well, you don't have hope unless you're doing the things that's going to bring the conclusion to that hope. So every day, I don't care how you feel, you get up and do the things that you've got to do. The third step to mental health recovery is today and every day, I will challenge every negative and deceptive thought. When you have mental health issues, your brain lies to you. And it lies to everybody that has mental health issues. Probably lies to everybody anyway, but we notice it more in our joy and our happiness and our fulfillment in life is based on changing these thought patterns. So in it we talk about things from developing a strong self-image. We talk about various lies that people with mental health issues tend to believe about the world and themselves and the people around them, and how to change that. And then we talk about cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are common mental deceptions that people with mental health issues believe. One of them, the simple ones, is called heaven's reward. I believe if I do something good, that some supernatural power is going to make something good happen to me. And if I do something bad, that same power is going to make something bad happen to me. And that's a lie. Another one is black and white thinking. The world is not black and white. And as a religious person and a retired pastor, that was one that affected me a lot. I tended to want to look everything in black and white, and not everything is black and white. Everybody doesn't hate me. Everybody doesn't know me, so everybody can't hate me. But there were people in my life I knew that didn't hate me, but who loved me, my wife and children. My wife and I have been married in slightly over 3 weeks. We'll have our 43rd anniversary. She's always been there for me, always supported me. I knew she loved me, and at the same time believed that nobody in the world really loved me. And the other half of that was, if anybody really knew me, they wouldn't love me. Well, she knew me. I've not kept secrets from her. She knows just about every darkest part of my soul, and she loves me. And so, learning how to overcome these types of lies, and I think I cover the 10 major cognitive distortions in the book. But when you start doing these things to make you feel better, and then you start changing the way you think, your brain changes how it works, and you'll find yourself getting better and better all the time, to the point that you can truly say, I am living a full and happy life. And here's some simple steps to get you started. The first one is the first one. Choose today. I ask you to choose at this very minute that today and every day you will do what you need to do to live a full and happy life. Now, you might not see a huge change right away, but I tell you, if you make that decision to accept hope and live by it, you will, in the next few weeks, start to begin to see a change. The second one is similar, but choose today and every day to do the specific things that you find out that you think can help you, and you do those things. Build a support group. Again, choose wisely. I can always recommend choosing a mental health support group or any other type of support group that you may need. There are multiple organizations that have mental health support groups. The simplest way to find out if there's one in your community is go to Google or your favorite search engine, type in the name of your city, and type in depression and support. And you'll find out what support groups are available in your city. But the other support groups, many people with addictions have depression and vice versa. So, if you have any type of addictive behavior, either along with or in separate or either additional to or by itself, you may need an addiction support group. If you're have depression, anxiety, or mental health issue, any mental health issue, and you have somebody significant in your life that's passed away, going to a grief support group will help you. You've recently been through a divorce, a divorce support group can help you. You have a specific health condition. There are support groups for almost every major health condition out there. There's support groups for diabetes, for heart disease, for cancer. You name any type of rare disease that you have. If you live anywhere near a populated area, there's probably a support group for that specific condition. So, or you may could use a religious or spiritual support group. And there are many of those available. Or if you are deeply religious, if you type in, Christian or Muslim or Hindu, and type in, depression and anxiety or grief or divorce or specific, you may find one available, that really reflects your values. Number 5. This, especially for those of us with a ton of anxiety, become more social. Now, right now, this has been a difficult. I'm glad I went through this before COVID. I'm glad I was where I'm at now before COVID. Because becoming more social right now is not an easy thing to do. But becoming more social will help you immensely. Finding the right places to be social and the right people to be around can even be more beneficial. And number 6, learn everything you can about overcoming your specific mental health condition. You can, type in mental health recovery. You can type in overcoming depression, overcoming schizophrenia, overcoming bipolar, and you'll find people that will share specific things with you that may help. One last thing I want to bring up that we kind of hit on before, if you're working with a psychiatrist or a doctor that has you on any kind of mood elevator or any other kind of prescription drug, don't just go and drop it. I know, I have worked with dozens of people with bipolar, and all of them at one point or other decided they didn't need their drugs. And almost all of them paid very severely for it. I had one lady used to come to a Bible study I led, and she was in her mid 60s. And when I first met her, she was doing great. And we talked about it. And, she told me she had bipolar. And at the time, it was manic depression, but before they changed the name. But, about 5 weeks after she started coming to my Bible study, she went to a meeting at our church and got prayed for and believed God healed her. So she quit her medication. And, within a week, she was seeing demons coming out of the floor attacking her. And she called me on the phone in hysteria, and we, got her help, and, had a family member take her to the emergency room, and they admitted her, and they got her all situated, in about 3 weeks time back on her drugs. She was doing good. And she went about 3 months, and then she went and got prayed for and felt she was healed and stopped her drugs again and went through the same thing all over. I know, from talking to people that, your drugs can make you feel dull. And with bipolar, it's a matter of you don't really feel dull. You just don't have the high of the manic stage. And to be normal feels dull compared to your manic stage. My sister was that way. Eventually led her to suicide. But she just, didn't want to take her drugs, no matter how severe the depressive side was. She didn't want to lose those, days or weeks at a time that she was in a manic stage. And she moved into a depression stage. You know, you know, you know, back and forth and back and forth. Developed severe alcohol problems, trying to cope with the depressive side, and eventually took her life. I don't want that to be you. I want you to live a full and happy life. Sometimes with some mental health conditions, you can grow to the point that you and your doctor or you and your psychologist can decide that you need either less of the drugs you're taking or you don't need them. But I would advise, don't just say, oh, gee, I'm going to start mental health recovery and I'm going to get better, so I'm going to quit my drugs. The side effects can be horrible. I know, because I had to come off Paxil. I came off of Cymbalta once before, and it was because it just stopped working. And my doctor said, well, let's see how you do without one. I didn't do great, so he put me, or my psychiatrist put me on Paxil. Paxil worked, but then when I found out it was damaging my eyes, if I didn't have the support of a wonderful, loving wife right there beside me, I would not have made it through that. It was the hardest thing that I ever did. And I didn't develop the strength. I don't know how would I react now, in it, but I'm at a point now where the doctor might say, you're doing so great. Why don't we start weaning you off and see how you do? Well, that's the proper way to do it. Just don't decide in your head you don't need your medications, especially if you have, what most people consider more serious. If you have schizophrenia or bipolar or, any other hallucinative or other type of serious mental health thing, and your doctors have you on medications, please don't jump off, But at the same time, while you're working with your recovery team, decide today and every day, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be better. Again, here's 2 of the 3 books that I have on mental health right now. The kind of a little mini textbook on mental health recovery. My book, Here I Am with Me. I love this book. I go through it over and over, again, reminding myself of things that I can do. This is a new copy. I don't have my scribbled up. I wrote it, but I still have a very scribbled up copy of the book that I keep in my briefcase, and it's where I go. Another book I keep in my briefcase is Thrive Gratitude Journal. As I wrote this because I'm not a journaler. Most gratitude journals, you write in every day, write things about your day and things. I'm just not that way. And I found, on the internet, a whole bunch of gratitude prompts. So I found as many as I could. And in this book, you've got things like, I am grateful for these simple pleasures. And you write down as many of them as you can. I'm grateful for these things that I can see. And if I'm out somewhere and I start having a hard time, I pull out this out of my briefcase and I just start flipping through it, reminding myself of things that I am grateful for. And I tell you, that can change your life real easily. In my video about developing a gratitude journal, I have a link to where you can download the PDF of this book, or you can just download the link. And so I'm going to include them here in this video as well. I mean, in this description. So in the description, you'll see a link to this PowerPoint presentation, a link to the PDF version of this book, and if you want it, if you just want to just take a notebook and make it yourself, and don't want to print up 100 pages, you can just download the list of gratitude prompts and do it yourself. The books are all priced very affordably. I wrote the books because I wanted everybody to be able to live a full and happy life, and I didn't do it to make a ton of money. All of them are like $6.99. Thrive journal is smaller, so I make about $2.15 off of it. The other one I make about $2.04 a book. But I do it, I could be priced up there with everybody else at $15 to $25 for my book. But I wanted everybody to have access to it because I want you to live a full and happy life. And you don't have to have the book to do it. You can work with your professionals, but it all starts with you deciding today two things. One, I'm going to develop hope and that expectation and that knowledge, that deep belief that I'm going to get better because I'm doing the right things. And number two, that you're going to start doing those things. And then if you add to that, changing the way you think, you'll find that you live a full and happy, wonderful life. And I wish that for you all. And so thank you so much for listening to this impression. Make that commitment and start today to improving your mental health.